So good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome all of you to Nelson Mandela Park Public School. My name is Jason Cannon-Carey, and I am the principal here at Nelson Mandela. We have many distinguished guests, which I would like to acknowledge. But before we begin, I would like us to first acknowledge that we are on the ancestral lands of Aboriginal peoples. And these lands are from the founding peoples of the Great Lakes region of Canada. And through this acknowledgement, we pay respect to the Indigenous communities who are the traditional stewards of this land. And in doing so, we should be cognizant of their rich culture, heritage, and their continual relationship with the lands and waters. We acknowledge this land and the people because the first step to reconciliation is recognizing the existence of Indigenous peoples. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission Call to Actions, number 62 to 66, speak to the significance of education as the key to reconciliation. A shared understanding of how our collective past has brought us to where we are today will help us walk into a better future. And I want to give credit to Scott Wolford, the principal at Toronto District School Board Island School, who shared this with me. And I think it's really important anytime we bring people together, we make the acknowledgement of Indigenous peoples in Canada. So today we have the high honor of having the Minister of Education, Mitzi Hunter, here with us. We have Honorable Mr. Murray, who is our MPP for the area. We have Chris Moyse, our local school trustee. We also have some senior team from the Toronto District School Board that I would like to acknowledge. We have Sandy Spiropoulos, Executive Superintendent, Colleen Russell-Rollins, Executive Superintendent, and Jane Phillips-Long, our Area Superintendent, and also Diana Fitzgerald, our School Vice Principal. And so today, we're very excited to be part of this announcement that the Ministry is going to be making. At our school, we like to talk about the importance of hope and along with that purpose. And in order for us to have better outcomes for children, we have to have a plan. And I know part of the announcement today is the plan for improving the outcomes for families in our province. So I would like to introduce Trustee Moyse to please come and say a couple of words. Thank you. Trustee Moyse.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to grab this? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with you today here at Nelson Mandela Park School. On behalf of the Toronto District School Board and my fellow trustees, welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Moyse. I'm the local trustee for the area. Nelson Mandela is a school with a rich history. The original school was built on this very site in 1853. At that time, it was one of only 3 schools in Toronto. Much has changed in our city and in this community since then. Nelson Mandela is a true community hub that now serves a diverse population of students, parents, community, and members. At the TDSB, diversity is one of our greatest strengths. The school community around Nelson Mandela is a testament to the richness, opportunities, and learning that diversity brings in our classrooms. When Nelson Mandela visits the school, which was renamed in his honor in 2001, he said, I quote, "We know that you are the future leaders, not only of Toronto, not only of Canada, but the entire world. When you are old, many of you are going to be members of parliament. You're going to be ambassadors and represent our country in foreign lands. You're going to be members of the cabinet. You're going to be prime ministers. You are the future leaders of the world, and it is an honor for us to be here to interact with you," end quote. Through their child-centered approach to education and their commitment to supporting each student to succeed, the staff of this school are supporting children to become the leaders that Nelson Mandela envisioned. Providing this kid this kind of high-quality education requires the effort of many. It requires effective leadership within the school, the community, the city, the province, and beyond. We are pleased to be joined here today by the Minister of Education, Mitzi Hunter, also the Honorable Glenn Murray, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, also the Member of Parliament for Provincial Parliament in this area, and my colleague, Vice Chair Jennifer Arp, and members of the Executive. I would also like to thank Principal Jason Cannon-Carey and Vice Principal Diana Fitzgerald, and the staff and students of Nelson Mandela Park School for hosting us in this special announcement today. Now, please join me in welcoming Minister Glenn Murray. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Moyes. We can be on a first-name basis today. Jason and Chris and Mitzi and all my friends, thank you very, very much. We're enormously proud in Toronto Centre of Nelson Mandela School and the Regent Park community. I always get excited. I want to be like a 5 or 6 year old again. Chris and I were coming out, and Mitzi were coming out, and saying, "Geez, kindergarten is so much more fun today than I remember it." And I want to start by thanking all of the teachers and educators and support workers and the amazing staff, Jason, that you've got here. We're so enormously proud. Schools are about people, and we're very blessed to have this, what is often described as the best school system in the English-speaking world. And we know that's the product of the hard work of our teachers, our professionals, and the community around it. I also want to thank all the parents in this community who are so invested in making this a community school, the leadership, the principal, and bringing this together to be a hub for the community in so many ways, helping us celebrate our diversity and move way beyond tolerance to realizing that being different is just being cool, and we're all different in some way. And I also want to thank the students. They invest so hard and they work so hard. And I think Mitzi and I were pretty excited to see the reviews that the story got. I mean, it was a very democratic institution here, but a heck of a lot more fun than question period. But I think it's important to mark some of the partnerships in this community over the years, because in the last 6 and a bit years that I've been the MPP, I've had this great privilege to work with this community to help bring money and resources to realize so many incredible things, you know. And it just seems like yesterday that one of the residents here, Diane Spence, started to convene people in 2003 to bring the community together when there wasn't a stick, when for decades Regent Park had been had a reputation that wasn't one that the people in the neighborhood wanted, and a community that hadn't seen a lot of investment. And every time I walk through this community, I get an extraordinary sense of hope of what's possible, because in the last decade, we started with things like Parents for Better Beginnings, which was one of the first parents projects that brought new parents together to share and build relationships with each other and better relationships with their children, and to get support. You know, as Hillary Clinton said, it really takes a village to raise kids, and that started there. And from the very beginning, these things and the announcement that Mitzi is about to make are building on a foundation of a dialogue between people and their government, their school board, and that. Then a birthing center, one of the first, just here in Regent Park. 7 generations. We're reading Big Thunder in the Indigenous tradition, and thank you, Jason, for recognizing that. 7 generations there, mums and dads, and they have the coolest bathtubs in the world there. You just got to go for the bathtubs. Then, out of Regent Park came Pathways to Education, which is now national, right? And so as kids are getting into school, they're getting support. And early childhood education, here again, you know, what that's done for families, for children, for the performance of children, which we'll hear about in a minute, that building block of adding those early years of education, going through the public school system, Parents for Better Beginnings, and then building around that the Daniel Spectrum, the Aquatic Center, the Community Center, the Center for Social Innovation, all of these things that give athletic, cultural, scientific, community organizing skills that mean that leadership, as Nelson Mandela said, you know, is just effusive in our kids because they're touched in so many ways. Focus on youth, Native Earth. I mean, you can just go on with all the cultural and community groups that build here. And now we have expansions with George Brown and Ryerson, the new Student Learning Center, the Waterfront Campus. But now for every family just about in Regent Park, next year, their first university or college degree won't cost them anything, and they're going in there with a financial foundation from that. So we've now removed all barriers pretty much that we have to get kids from literally coming into the world birthed an amazing experience, and that right through to getting their first university degree. And that's just in 10 years. And a lot of those things started here in this community and have spread across that. And I've been enormously privileged and inspired, and I've learned so much from my constituents. And Mitzi has been a big part of that from goodwill. You know, and we worked at Canadian Urban Institute. I would be hard-pressed to tell you something in community and social development that my friend Mitzi hasn't been involved in. But I'm so excited that she's Minister of Education now, because when she takes things on, she gets results that no one else did. She started on retirement pension. As you know, these children that are growing up right now and the generations coming after are facing a lot of battles. They'll be the first generation never to know a normal climate, and that'll be an existential crisis that we're facing. But in the very practical world, they didn't have the capacity to retire. CPP was not meeting needs. And Mitzi took this challenge on, engaging other governments, engaging the federal government, that not only do we have pensions now for Ontarians, but every Canadian's getting a better pension. And I think for a first-term MPP, and one of the all too few women in politics today, to be able to, after your first day, say in a resume, I took what was going to be a provincial program, engaged our federal cousins, and we now have a much better pension plan for all of us old folks who are thinking about life. So would you please give a warm Toronto Centre welcome to my friend Mitzi Hunter.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and we have been friends for many, many years through many careers, so it's really wonderful. One of the aspects that I am very proud of is the work that I did at Toronto Community Housing. So coming back to Regent Park is a very familiar space, and is really ultimately what city building is all about, and it's all about how you make community better, and it's happening here in so many ways. So it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much, Principal, for touring me through your school and introducing me to your amazing students. And just, I can see their passion and their energy and all of the hopes. So thank you for nurturing that in this space together with your entire team, teachers, ECE, secretaries, custodians, everyone that makes this school community as beautiful as it is. I want to thank everyone, and of course thank the members of the board that are here and the administration. It's great to see that you're working alongside this school community. And you know, we're here today to really talk about the investments that we're making in education, because there's no investment that is more important than in our young people and in their future. So I'm very happy that we are here to talk about a major education milestone related to full-day kindergarten. And I'm sure you all remember kindergarten. I remember Mrs. Purden's class when I was in kindergarten. I remember my cubby, and I remember how softly she spoke. And so these are moments in your life that you will never, ever forget. This is about educating our youngest learners, and it requires a collective effort. It requires an entire community to do that. And back in 2010, our government launched plans for this groundbreaking province-wide program. The innovative proposal would extend the half-day junior and senior kindergarten model to a full-day early learning for all 4- and 5-year-olds in this province. It was a bold and an ambitious plan, and it would position Ontario as a leader in North America on the cutting edge of education and early learning transformation. 6 years later, those groundbreaking plans are now a reality. Not only is full-day kindergarten available to every 4- and 5-year-old across this province, but I'm happy to report that the total enrollment for full-day kindergarten since being launched in 2010 has now exceeded 1 million students. This speaks to the tremendous success for this Ontario-wide program, and this is a milestone worth celebrating. Not only because we're giving children the best possible start in school and in life, but because it represents one of the biggest transformations undertaken by our education system in a generation. Also, the full-day kindergarten program required one of the most significant investments Ontario has ever made in education. And when you think about how it began, the progress, the growth in this program has been tremendous. Back in 2010, when the program was launched on a small scale, full-day kindergarten enrollment was just 35,000 children. fast forward to today, during this year alone, and that includes the class we were just reading to about Thunder Boy, 260,000 4- and 5-year-olds are going to school in about 3,600 schools across Ontario. This is a remarkable achievement in such a short time. Of course, this could not have been possible without all of our education partners. So I want to thank our school boards, administrators, and all of our education workers who have made full-day kindergarten such an overwhelming success. And I know that it takes a full school community to make a school work. Just this week, I was at a high school, and it was a brand new school that was opening up. And the former secretary of the school came just to help out, just to volunteer as the school was opening on day one. So I know it takes a village. You are hardworking and committed to your students, to your school, and to your communities. You are doing amazing work across this great province, and you are making a real difference in the lives of Ontario's children and families. When I visit full-day kindergarten classes across the province, I see how tremendously dedicated our teachers and early childhood educators are to the success of our youngest learners. So I want to thank you for everything that you do each and every day. Your commitment has been invaluable. I also want to emphasize that while full-day kindergarten represents a historic accomplishment for everyone in the education system, the focus, of course, remains Ontario's children. They are the true beneficiaries, and that's because with the play-based learning program in FDK, the benefits are clear. We know that children who attend FDK are better prepared for grade 1 and are more successful in school. We also know that FDK is linked to positive grade 1 and 2 report card results in reading, writing, and mathematics. But this isn't surprising. All along, our goal has been to give all children a stronger start in school and in life. And the results speak for themselves. Full-day kindergarten gives Ontario's children a better start in school and a better start in life. It puts them on a firm footing towards a more secure future. The program has undeniable benefits for parents as well. FDK also makes it easier for parents to participate more fully in the economy, which helps to close the gender wage gap and build Ontario up. The full-day kindergarten program also saves many parents costs of childcare. In fact, it is estimated that FDK saves families up to $6,500 per child per year in average costs. Overall, Ontario families will have saved more than an estimated $1 billion in childcare costs by the end of this year, 2016-17 school year. The success of FDK is very exciting because while I'm the Minister of Education, I'm also an Ontarian. And all Ontarians have a vested interest in helping every student reach their full potential. Because a student who maximizes their potential can go on to fulfill their lifelong dreams, just as Nelson Mandela said when he opened this school. And that will surely make our province a more prosperous one. So thank you, merci, miigwech. I'm now pleased to take your questions.
We're into the second week of school, and parents still can't rely on school bus service. Why is that? Why has it been resolved yet?
Well, this is an issue that we are monitoring very, very, very closely. We want to ensure that the health and the safety of all of our students is is assured to parents. So we are monitoring that, and I know that the school boards, and in fact each individual school, school principals, teachers are all very much working towards solving and resolving this issue of the school buses, and it's something that we're monitoring very closely.
What responsibility do you take in this, though?
Well, the role that the province has, of course, is to provide the funding to the school boards for transportation, and we've actually increased that funding by 40%. And in terms of coordinating those services across school boards, that's something that the boards do with the consortium of bus providers.
Bus operators say it's your government that's caused this problem because of a procurement process that's wrong.
Well, in terms of the procurement and the acquisition, that's something that is the responsibility of the boards, together with the consortium partners.
Say that the rates, that the increases that you've just identified haven't happened, and they say even if they were to happen, they're not getting the money from the boards, and it's simply just not enough. These companies have been forced out of business.
I believe that we have increased the investments that we're making to transportation. It's been a 40% increase, and we're meeting the demands that are being asked of us when it comes to the supply of transportation services. Right now, seems to be a coordination challenge, and that's causing this issue, and that's something that we're monitoring very closely.
Children are being sent home in taxi cabs in some situations. So when does the ministry say, instead of, we're monitoring this, but it's really the board's responsibility, at what point does it become serious enough that the ministry steps in and does something?
Well, it's serious now. We want to ensure that that the safety of every child, and I believe that everyone wants that, and everyone is working to resolve the issue. But certainly making sure that our children get home safely is top priority.
The question.
Minister, Toronto District School or Toronto District Catholic School Board had over 100 buses that were late this morning, some of them up to an hour, dozens and dozens for the TDSB. York Region also had a lot of problems. We're talking thousands and thousands of kids aren't getting to class upwards to an hour late and are getting home up to an hour. What is your ministry doing to stop this?
Yeah, so that is definitely concerning for me, and we are working to ensure that kids get home safely. That's the number one concern, and I know that the school boards, together with the schools, are working to resolve the situation as quickly as possible with the bus operators and the bus providers.
What's your ministry doing?
Well, this is something that, as I mentioned to you, since 2003, we've provided a 40% increase in funding for transportation. So we're continuing to since 2003, we've provided a 40% increase in funding transportation to the school boards, and we're ensuring that the resources are in place, working together with the school boards, and the coordination of those services with the bus operators is something that the boards are doing. They are working on that and working to resolve the issue.
These thousands and thousands of kids that aren't getting to school on time or getting home on time, have you contacted any of the school boards personally?
I have not done that. I'm very confident in the abilities of the school boards, together with the schools, to work with the consortium of bus operators as they do, to provide those coordinated services and to ensure that the number one priority of getting kids home safely to their families is done.
But with that many people students not going to school, would you not be I know you're concerned, but a little more concerned to reach out to the boards and say, and ask them what can be solved?
Of course I'm concerned. This is something that I'm monitoring very, very closely and ensuring that these services are provided. We're providing the resources for that. The coordination is something that the school boards are doing together with the bus consortium and those bus providers. And, they're working hard to resolve the issues. In the meantime, we want to ensure that children get to and from school safely.
Minister, is it appropriate for kids to be in really, really hot classrooms trying to learn?
Well, that's, in terms of, it's been a very warm week, and I've been in many schools this week, some that have air conditioning, some that do not, and I know that that the schools work very hard to make sure they regulate the temperature in schools, and we have provided $1.1 billion this summer, in fact, for school boards to prioritize the needs in their schools. So if there's the need to provide those types of services, that they can prioritize those. So I know that
Being in really hot classrooms trying to learn.
Well, I think that the issue is making sure kids are safe at all times, and I know that's a top priority for me in terms of the investments that we're making, which is why we made a $1.1 billion additional investment, putting our 2-year investments in capital renewal and repair to $2.7 billion. Over the summer, I know that the school boards have been working on their priority needs of repairs and maintenance of the schools, and that has been happening.
Thank you.
Is there a threshold that for a hot temperature in a classroom where it becomes unsafe? Like, would we see something like heat days as opposed to snow days?
Well, I know that no school will put children at risk in terms of heat, and I know that that's not something that's going to happen in terms of the health and safety of our students. That's the #1 priority, and the well-being of students that we have. So there has to be decisions that are made in terms of a particular situation. We know, as Minister Murray has said, that there is climate change. We know that weather patterns are changing. So we have to, of course, monitor those extreme days as much as possible.
Other than being concerned,
Minister Murray would like to comment.
Just quickly. First of all, we're dealing with climate adaptation now. We're seeing droughts across the province. These are just indications that some people. You can't say that any one event is climate related, but the fact that we are dealing with heat issues, and you're reading about them on farms and you're reading about them in schools, and we knew that we're moving to a new normal with that. And we are doing a lot about that. With the cap and trade money, Minister Hunter and I, we have dedicated funds going forward to make schools resilient and to start adapting to it. And the investments are massive and unprecedented. Not only is Nelson Mandela School a community center facilities that obviously are very comfortable to be in. You go literally a block down, you see the site of the new construction for a brand new Catholic school because the old one didn't have air conditioning. And there were decades and decades in Ontario where we didn't deal with climate change and we didn't make sufficient investments. We've gone from about $1 billion to $2 billion a year since we were elected to over $13 billion a year in infrastructure and unprecedented investments. And one of the things that we inherited over decades was that we didn't make the investment in school infrastructure that we're now making today. And I wish every school was like this one or was like the new Duke of York. But you talk to my constituents, you go out there, you will see unprecedented investments in new school buildings, and part of it is because we actually care that kids are comfortable. We work at Queen's Park, which doesn't have air conditioning, which we go to on Monday. So we're living that experience, and we know how unpleasant and uncomfortable it is when you're in a hot school, whether you're a teacher or a student, and we're doing a lot to fix that. And the climate change agenda and cap and trade, which people sometimes are critical of, creates the new sources of revenue that we need to adapt to these new conditions.
Thank you.
Up there, do you agree? Why is it necessary to prorogue the legislature?
Because it's very typical. When I lived in Manitoba, that happened regularly. Usually halfway through, you want to do a throne speech. You want to set the agenda straight. I think I think Minister Nackby explained that the other day.
And we're not losing any sessional days. The session will begin on Monday. So,
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
other than being concerned, what can the ministry do to get these thousands of kids to school on time? I know you're concerned, you're found that, but what can you do, the ministry can do, to make sure that the school bus delay problem is
So
solved?
my expectation is that the boards work together with the school bus consortium and with the operators to resolve this issue. And while that's being done, it is paramount that we keep kids safe and make sure that they get to and from school and home safely.
Thank you, everybody. We have to wrap up. If you have any additional questions, you can follow up with us. Thank you.